Many people want to immigrate to the United States and other rich countries. More people than these countries want to accept. So how should countries decide which immigrants to admit? The late Gary Becker, a Nobel Prize-winning economist from the University of Chicago, proposed a market solution: set a price and sell the right to immigrate.
Anybody who can meet the payments would be allowed to immigrate. Of course, you'd have to determine a price. I say, suppose the price, I don't know what the price would be, but suppose it was $50,000. This would yield $50 billion a year in tax revenue. Doing that, you might think, well, by doing that, I'm going to get the worst sort of immigrants. No, you're going to get the better sort of immigrants. The young, the skilled, those who have the greatest commitment. You're going to get the better sort of immigrants coming. So you can have your cake and eat it too. You get the revenue, and you get the immigration, and you get the better sort of immigrants.
Some may find it troubling to put citizenship up for sale. But the idea is less radical than it seems. Many countries already do something similar, offering visas and passports to foreigners who invest a certain amount of money.
Next year, anyone from outside the EU can apply for EU citizenship as long as they're prepared to pay €650,000.
Here's how the program works. An immigrant must be willing to invest at least $1 million to start a business in the county or buy a broken one and fix it.
What do you think? Is selling citizenship a legitimate way of attracting foreign investment and creating jobs? Or does putting a price on the right to immigrate cheapen the meaning of citizenship? How many would be in favor of a market in citizenship, in the right to immigrate? And how many against? All right, actually, so the majority of you are in favor. Let's first hear why you're in favor. Ryan.
Well, you people are a unit of a resource, and I think you can put a price on a resource. We have this debate in many countries about whether or not we should put a price tag on citizenship. And when there's a need of foreign investment, when we need strong entrepreneurial people, I don't have a problem with putting a price on that. And in the long run, this will encourage people to come to the country and can be extremely beneficial economically.
Lindsay.
I would have a little bit of an issue if this was the only path to citizenship. I think it really needs to stand alongside existing naturalization programs.
Why?
Because I think there are different types of people that want to become immigrants.
And a lot of the successes of people who have contributed jobs and ideas and technology have started out as immigrants with not that much money from another country, but with ideas.
I think there should be a longer path to naturalization, but if someone wants to fast track that with $50,000 or even more than that, I don't have a problem.
I completely agree.
I would also just to add to their argument, I completely agree with what was said so far, because they're probably refugees in a desperate situation and they cannot even think of a loan that's $50,000. But at the same time, going back to Friedrich Hayek's argument that the mighty dollar is the best valuation of success, you could use that measure of 50,000 to get successful people into that country, and that's not necessarily a bad idea as a second alternative path.
Well, let's put aside refugees for the sake of argument. Let's assume there's a separate track for them, but a free market for the rest?
I'm fine with that idea.
Kevin?
Earlier, Ryan, you said that you view people as a resource, and I would argue that that position alone is antithetical to democracy itself. Secondly, citizenship is a package of things. It's an opportunity to invest in a successful society, it's true. But citizenship is also about being part of a society based around some shared set of values, as well as a set of rights, and engaging with that is not simply valued by market logic.
Kevin, when I say put a value on people, I mean also long term. People, as a unit of the labor market, I do feel that everybody has a distinct value, and that's placed on people through wages, through the amount of money they invest, and that's my argument.
But let's say I become a political theory professor.
Sure.
The odds that the market is seriously going to value the contribution that I give to society accordingly to what it actually teaches people.
What do you mean? If you're a political theory professor, you don't just do political theory. You go to the grocery store, you spend money. It's called the multiplier effect. Immigrants don't only produce value through the teachings they produce. They may clean their car, they may buy insurance, and that's why I put value on people, not just through their initial
But that doesn't value my ideas. That does not value my convictions.
But if you want to come to America and you are willing to pay $50,000 to realize that ambition,
but maybe I shouldn't have
really
to pay $50,000.
This willingness does not necessarily reflect the quality of that person.
I think you just have to be in a situation whereby the way that you've obtained that money is not criminal. If you come to the US, then you're going to spend that money. It doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean?
I understand your point, but there is another side of citizenship, which is not just like how much money you're going to contribute to the economy. And when you're a citizen, you have like certain rights, certain duties, and the fact that you have $50,000 does not entail that you're going to be a good citizen.
Nicole.
Becker's article said the kind of people we want here, suggesting that there are certain kinds of people that we don't want. You know, we don't want the people who just live off of the state, or we don't want people who won't contribute. And I think that that's making assumptions about certain people before they enter this country that you have no idea about. And I don't think that money is a good indicator of what that is. I don't think that your ability to be able to get a loan is a good indicator of what that is.
And so you think it's wrong to put a price on citizenship?
Yes.
I mean, it's like putting a price on voting rights. Yeah. I wonder how people disagreed in the previous example, saying, no, voting rights shouldn't be sold. And now they're saying, yes, still citizenship, and let people come buy over our country and make the policies they like.
I think they're different examples because once you're in a country, you are represented, and everyone has an equal right to representation. And selling that is, I think, somehow perverse. Whereas actually signalling your willingness to engage in a country's citizenship is a different example.
But is money really a good signal of that?
It is.
Really.
In some cases, it is.
Jamie.
So I think the purpose of immigration is not a duty and responsibility to the immigrants initially, as much as the preferences of the current citizens of the country. They're the ones who elected this government. The government has a duty to them. So the purpose of immigration selection is trying to bring in the immigrants who will benefit the current citizens the most. So I think if they have the willingness to pay and participate, great enough that they're willing to sacrifice that substantial of a financial sum, then I think they're likely to become a good citizen. I do think that monetary value is a decent way to determine how much benefit potential immigrants will bring to the current citizens.
I don't think actually that would be efficient, because I think what you want from immigrants is people who make a contribution to society. If you just have some wealthy coupon clipper, that person will not add anything of real value to the United States. A lot of the people that we want, they don't have any money, and yet they might be very productive Americans.
I think it makes complete sense. And in fact, many countries, I believe, have this kind of policy. They basically agree that, particularly in the case of business people or other wealthy people, somebody who's willing to invest a lot in the country, that's sort of enough to buy your citizenship, as it were. I see no objection to doing that.
Using an auction is not the right tool.
Because?
The value of citizenship is not determined by how much income you have. There are people who are outstanding citizens who have no income, and there are people who are dreadful citizens who are very wealthy. And so I just think it's the wrong metric.
We do allow foreign investors to get a fast track to citizenship if they invest a certain amount of money and create jobs. Do you have any objection to that?
No.
It doesn't bother you that they, in effect, can buy American citizenship? You don't think that cheapens the meaning of citizenship?
No, I don't think so. If the basis for their citizenship is that they're going to be productive in the United States, well, they're going to be paying taxes and providing jobs for Americans. So they're not just coming here to lie on the beach.
Do you think it cheapens the meaning of citizenship to put it up for sale?
I don't find that a meaningful way to think about citizenship. In fact, it seems to go the other way, because it's demonstrating that this is such a valuable thing that at least some people are willing to pay a tremendous amount to attain this status. I think, if anything, it's a positive mark.
Setting your immigration policy is an issue for a democratic government to decide democratically, and having private individuals kind of thwart that isn't right.
You're worried that it turns citizenship into a purely instrumental good.
Yes, and if you take that logic to its end, the more money you earn, the more votes you should have. For democracy to work, people have to come to it as equals.
I think that money really is not a great indicator because there are so many people who literally do not have the money, who literally could not be given a loan.
Credit is accessible to everybody.
Well, you can't assume that. Like, that's not the way the world works.
Government insured.
Yeah, I want all sorts of people in my democracy.
So you would be okay with people coming to the country, even if, in the long run, they are a burden to society?
Okay. Oh, a burden to society?
Yeah.
They're only a burden to society if we don't care about
if they're economically costly in the long run. Are you okay with that?
Economic costliness is a function of structure.
I have a question. You said citizenship can be measured by how much you contribute to society.
Yes.
How about American citizens now who do not contribute to society? Are you going to desensitize them to say you're not a citizen? Are you going to kill them, deport them? What are you going to do with those
going
citizens
back to what I
who do not
said,
contribute?
I think the current government has a responsibility to its current citizens. They support it. The government represents them. That government does not have a responsibility
But you
to
said
citizens of the
citizenship
world.
can be measured by how much money you have.
So we don't have humanitarian obligations
All
abroad.
right, I have a few questions. First, that inscription on the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Should we add, provided they also bring along $50,000? Alex?
No, I don't disagree with what's written there, but I definitely do believe that if there are parallel ways to get into this country which value different types of success, it's completely fine to have a way which actually measures success in monetary terms, because success can be measured in monetary terms in some cases.
You mentioned the foreign investor provision.
Yes.
Which is that for an investment of $500,000 that creates 10 jobs over a period of time, a foreign investor can get the right to live in this country with his or her family.
And it's one path among very many.
So you're in favor of that?
I'm absolutely in favor
Lindsay?
of that.
Of course.
Yeah. Anyone against? Abdul? Nicole? Only the two of you. Putting a price on citizenship. Ryan, you have no problem with it. So what is democracy for?
Communicating with each other and trying to come to the social good. It's not about who's worth more or who counts more.
So the point of democracy, Nicole, you think, is deliberating together within a political community about the common good?
Sure.
And money corrupts that, you think?
Yes.
And why does money corrupt it?
Because people don't have the same amount of money.
If there were not severe inequality, then do you think it would be okay to put votes up for sale and, for that matter, citizenship?
No, because money has no inherent meaning. Some people think that there is inherent meaning in citizenship, perhaps in community, and to place a dollar value on that, that's pretty arbitrary.
It makes democracy instrumental and citizenship instrumental rather than recognizing their intrinsic importance?
Yes.
Lindsay, you don't see it that way.
I just think that money communicates information.
There are some stuff that cannot be communicated by dollars. There are some stuff that dollar cannot really value.
Like inalienable rights.
Like inalienable rights, like dignity, like freedom, like liberty, like the right to vote.
We say that money is informational. It communicates information and the value that you place upon something.
Yeah.
It is okay in the case of citizenship because it is another source of communication about value of an issue.
It's just signaling your ability to engage in those institutions.
What does a $100 bill really say about how much I value citizenship in a country?
I really want something.
Ability to pay and willingness to pay does not signal that value.
We can be a capitalist, democratic society, and these things can exist side by side. We can have walls and firewalls upon which certain commodification cannot enter.
That's
that
actually
is possible.
exactly what we're saying. We think that this should be included with other institutions. We need to include the capitalist part in terms of capitalist democracy.
All right. Lindsay says money is a signal. It's a way of communicating value. It's a piece of information. And Lindsay, your critics seem to be suggesting that it isn't only that it's a way of conveying information, and not only information, valuation, that changes the meaning of the good. How do you answer that argument?
I think it's another source of information on how people value a good that we should consider in a variety of situations.
But I believe that we will find some cases in which money entails other modes of relationships which can start to change individual values.
I completely agree with that, but I also see money as a source of information, which I really think...
For everything?
I want to go back to what you were saying about democracy being a source of debate and communicating ideas. I just think that money is an addition to this that could be valuable.